Hello, welcome everybody to our next performance in the Shelter in Place Festival. This is Rising Sophomore. It was written by John Minigan. It is starring Haden, Strawn, Danny Vanegas, and it was directed by me, Victoria Lee. Enjoy, everyone. Hello, welcome everybody to
Hey.
Thanks for answering.
I took a screenshot of your Snapchat.
I know. I got a notification.
So I have a record of this, just so you know.
Okay.
And I'm recording us now.
I thought you couldn't record on FaceTime.
Not in the app. I'm using QuickTime.
Oh.
Ms. Hughes said you could get suspended if you kept doing this, or like
I
retaliated.
know.
So I'm keeping a record. That's all.
That's not what this is about.
Then what is it about then?
This is hard.
So? I'm gonna go. Okay.
Go.
I'm out.
No, Jacob, hold on.
Why should I?
I want to apologize.
You apologized already.
That was
Miss Hughes made you.
really want to say this.
Why?
Because I was an asshole.
So?
And I have been. I've been stuck at home like everybody else because of this stupid quarantine, and I've been thinking about everything, and I'm sorry about
They were going to put it on my record.
Yeah, but they didn't, right? Because we made you do it, me and Topher. We got 5 day suspension for making you do it. Now this, it's like we're all suspended now, right? For months.
It still sucked. My dad's pissed at me
Why is he pissed at you?
because I let you and Topher copy my work.
You didn't let us. We made you.
He says it was my fault too. He says a man has to stand up to bullies.
Oh shit! Really?
I'm out, Gary.
No, Jacob, don't.
What do you mean Topher's not coming back?
His parents figured out the only way he was passing geometry was because he was copying you. He said he's got to go. He has to go to Voc now
Schools are closed.
when they open.
They won't.
Then he's starting there next year. We're gonna make him do 9th grade over.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
Is that it? You wanted to apologize and tell me Topher's not coming back?
I don't know. I guess.
Okay. See ya.
Wait,
What?
you're really smart. I don't think I'd be passing geometry either. You're really smart.
You've said stuff like that before. It was all part of you and Topher, and
You understand all the stuff I don't.
you know I don't trust you, right?
No, I've been a douche.
For 2 years.
I know, so I was wondering,
What?
we're gonna have algebra next year.
Yeah.
So I wondered if like maybe we have a study hall together or something, and like you have time, maybe you could help me in algebra.
You want to copy my work again?
No,
I'm going to be in honors.
you should.
So we're not going to have the same work.
I'm not talking about copying. I'm just saying if you have the chance or have time to. If I fail, my parents are gonna send me to Voc too.
So?
And I know, you probably want that. It'd probably be better for you. But I've been stuck here in the house thinking, and it's for you, this quarantine is probably good, right? You don't have to deal with us every day. I thought about that, and it made me. I'm sorry about all that shit.
Okay.
But if I flunk out, I'm gonna have to go to Voc, and Topher's gonna be there, and I don't have any right to ask you to do anything for me. But I don't want to get stuck with Topher again.
Why should I believe any of this?
True.
You and Topher always do this kind of shit.
You're
You make
recording
me bet.
right?
Yeah.
Send it to Topher. Seriously, send it to him. I'm done with him, okay? I don't want to end up having to spend the rest of high school with him. He's...
Is this a prank call?
No.
Was this his idea?
Not smart enough to...
Is he there?
No, we're like quarantined.
Are you texting with him about this? Or
Full text, just the one to you. You don't have to help me in algebra, okay? I'll flunk out, I'll go to Voc, it's whatever. You do what you want. I've just been sitting around and thinking, and fuck Topher. You know, just send this to him. You understand stuff, okay? You understand stuff, and he's... I don't know. I'm sorry your dad got pissed at you. You didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
Hey, Jacob,
Yeah.
you're recording this, right?
Yeah.
Show it to your dad. You should do that. He shouldn't be mad at you. You're smart. You understand stuff. Show him this. I'm sorry, all right? I'm not gonna call you back. You don't have to. It's whatever. Hey, Jake.
Hey. Hey. I'm not recording now.
You're not?
No.
Oh, thank you for calling. All that stuff I said, that's all true. I'm sorry.
I know. I know.
Well done, actors. Thank you so much. Congratulations. John, if you want to join me, we will start the Q&A. Awesome. All right. So audience, if you have any questions for John about this performance and script, we would love to have y'all comment on the live stream. John, where are you sheltering in place right now?
I'm in Framingham, Massachusetts, which is about 20 miles west of Boston.
All right. How's it going up there?
It's good. It snowed yesterday, but today is a beautiful day in the 60s and it all melted, so that's a plus.
Wild. What a difference.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I would love to know the inspiration for this work.
It was sort of a two-phase inspiration, I guess. A couple of years ago, I participated in this initiative called 31 Plays in 31 Days, where for the month of August, you commit to write a short play of some kind every day. And I wrote this as a monologue. It was just Gary's character, and it was just a telephone call. And stuck in quarantine, I started to think about, what does quarantine do to people, especially to young people? Are there any positives that can come about as a result of being stuck alone with your thoughts and Netflix, for a really long time? And it brought me back to that monologue that I had written a couple of years ago. And I thought about what is Jacob's perspective on this and what is he like? And so it was really a combination of that initial piece and then, what happened when calls for quarantine plays started to get me thinking about how to use Zoom, how to use FaceTime, how to use, that sort of medium for telling stories.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it's amazing that you deal with the kid. I mean, it started from Gary's perspective, from his monologue, and then you went into Jacob's perspective. Can you go into a little bit about Jacob's story with his dad and how that kind of paralleled with Gary's treatment of Jacob before quarantine?
Right. And that was for me the thing that made the play make sense when I realized that Jacob was sort of experiencing, when he was quarantined at home with his dad, some of the same stuff that he had been experiencing in school with Gary and Topher. And he'd gotten to a point where, he's sort of suspicious of everybody and everything and feeling very isolated because of that. So I love the idea of being able to use communication through quarantine to at least get him to a place where he had somebody he could trust, somebody that would be allied with him, and maybe even, I don't know what happens after the play, maybe even get him to fix part of his relationship with his dad by maybe showing him the video of him standing up to Gary.
Yeah, and we rarely see bullies have a redemption story. We oftentimes see them have more a revenge line through a story. And I was very interested why you wanted Gary to have a little bit of a redemption story in this.
I think because I wanted to understand. I mean, I was always on the Jacob side of that relationship when I was younger. And so I was really interested, and I've always been interested in what happens many bullies, most bullies, I think, eventually have some sort of enlightenment. One of the reasons that I wrote the monologue in the first place is that I was on the receiving end of a phone call when I was in maybe 8th grade. Somebody who had been bullying me. He was not the alpha bully, he was the beta bully in the pair. And he was saying things that were really complimentary, and I never quite knew whether he was actually trying to reach out and fix that relationship, or was it, is that just some part of some bigger scheme that he and the other guy had come up with? But it made me really interested in what makes someone change, and then what do they do about it when they have started to experience that moment of enlightenment.
Yeah, that's very fascinating. With your writing, what types of subjects are you drawn to?
I tend to write about people who are, I guess, like Gary, at the end of a long period of behaving in a certain way or believing in a certain thing and beginning to shift to a new and more maybe uncertain way of living their lives. I tend to write a lot about people who have lived in certainty for a long time and have that certainty sort of blown apart and have to fend for themselves in a new reality where they don't know the rules.
Yeah. Well, we have a comment. I have Linda Kemp, and she says, so good to think of people recognizing the need for honest relationships during times of stress. Maybe touch a little bit on that.
Yeah, I think that that's absolutely true. There's so much that is negative right now. There's so much that's horrifying in human behavior and political structures that I was really interested in looking at. Are there positives that can or might come out of this? I think we're inundated by stories, both fictional and true, of how wrong things can go. And that didn't seem like an interesting story to me. So yeah, finding honesty, finding a connection, and finding a relationship. Someone that I've worked with a bunch was just quoted in a local newspaper recently about, what are writers writing at this point? And he said that he feels like most of what he's looking at, that's interesting to him anyway, are stories of redemption and stories of positive change. Maybe writers, maybe that's the new escapism. I don't really know. Maybe that's what we're looking at because things are so bad. But that really struck a chord with me, especially thinking about this play.
Yeah, that is such a good point. I have another comment from Linda. She says, I've been interested to think about how having a common interest with literally the whole world impacts relationships, both current and new. And that reminds me of Gary's line, the whole world is suspended right now.
Yeah.
That's so true. Yes, we're all kind
getting
of
a time
feeling
out.
the same thing. Yeah,
absolutely.
All right. Well, I would love any advice you have for aspiring playwrights.
Write as much as you can, read as much as you can, see as much as you can, whether it's in a real theater or via Zoom online. Trust that your first draft is going to be terrible and just let it happen and let it be awful. Because that's really, it's not about being good. It's about getting the ideas out and beginning to let them work on you. Keep a notepad by the bed so that at 2 o'clock in the morning, when the problem you've been wrestling with gets solved in your subconscious, you can write it down rather than do what I do, which is say like, oh, I'll remember it in the morning. It'll be fine, and never do. I was listening to James McClinton after his play, talking about that idea of getting to hear the play. And I think that's really important, even if it's just, make a big pasta dinner, invite friends over, eat pasta, drink wine, and read the play and talk about it, so that you can start to hear what's working and what's not working for you and get feedback from people that you trust that way.
That's awesome. What other types of topics are you interested in writing? Do you write comedy? Do you particularly draw your playwright sources to drama? What sources are you interested in?
I think even the dramas that I write have a fair amount of comedy in them. The pieces of mine that have been performed the most are comedies. But the piece that I've been spending most of my energy on for the last couple of years it's a pretty serious drama that touches on racism, on white spaces, speaking the language of inclusion, but being actually exclusive. and it's what people tell me is like it's surprisingly funny. Like it's a drama. It's about a woman who has early onset Alzheimer's. So it's very dark and it's very sad, but it's also about relationships, and it ended up being a funnier play than I thought.
And sometimes that just happens. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's so interesting to see that evolve. Well, we have a question from Benjamin. Benjamin Bratcher. He says, what do you think was the moment that made Gary have a change of heart? It seems to come pretty abruptly based on Jacob's reactions.
Mm-hmm. I think when Gary gets the news that Topher is going to go to a vocational school next year and he's not going to come back, that Gary as a beta bully rather than an alpha bully is sort of stuck. He doesn't have someone to protect him and to support. He also realizes, well, maybe I'm also not smart enough to survive in an academic setting, in a high pressure high school where kids take honors classes, etc. So what is my path forward going to be? And I think that's what Gary experiences before the play begins. That is his inciting incident for making the phone call or making the FaceTime call. That it's a moment of choice for him. He's going to either end up in Vogue and stuck with Topher, and that's going to be his life, being a bully and being the beta with a bully, or he's going to try to make things change, and maybe he can develop a relationship with Jacob where they're friends and support each other.
Yeah. Well, that's a great answer to that, because that's not something that I've totally thought of. And for our viewers who don't know what vocational school, explain what a vocational school is.
Yeah, vocational schools are great ideas. More people should go to them. It's a school that combines learning a trade with regular academic coursework. Like you might do plumbing for a week and then do math and science and history and language and literature for a week. So you come out of it, it's not specifically geared for college prep. You could then go on to college in some cases, but you can also then just move into being a carpenter, being a cosmetologist, being a plumber, being an electrician, et cetera, et cetera.
Awesome. Thank you for that explanation, because I know probably some people don't know what that is. Do you have any questions you would like to ask the audience about their thoughts on your piece?
Yeah. One of the questions I always like to ask is, was there a specific moment that was the most memorable for you? That if you think about the play tomorrow, what's the moment that you might remember? What stood out? I don't know if anybody has an answer for that.
I love it.
It's similar to my other question, which is, like, if you were to tell someone tomorrow, I saw a play about, what would that be?
All right. Well, audience, if you would like to answer that in the feed, we will make sure that John has access to those questions. All right. We will leave it here. John, thank you so much for this wonderful work, and thank you for offering that to us.
Thank you, Victoria, for directing. Beautifully done. And Haden and Danny and Claire and Brendan and everybody at Tap House is really honored to be included.
Thank you so much. We hope to see you soon.
Yeah, hope so too. Take care.
Take care. All right, everybody, we will be back in about 10 minutes to see lifestyle content. So stay tuned, and we will be back with our next live stream. Bye.